Francis Barretto Spinola was the first Italian-American to be elected to the United States House of Representatives, serving as a representative from New York from 1887 to 1891. He also served as a general in the Union Army during the American Civil War. Biography. Spinola was born in Oldfield, near Stony Brook, Brookhaven, Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. He attended Quaker Hill Academy in Dutchess County and then passed the bar exam before establishing a law practice in Brooklyn. He was elected alderman of the 2nd Ward in Brooklyn in 1846 and 1847 and was re-elected in 1849 and served for 4 years. By 1854, when he joined a special force known as Special Police to keep order in the streets of New York, he was already one of the most respected and influential citizens of the city. Politically a Democrat, he was a member of the New York State Assembly in 1856. He was a member of the New York State Senate from 1858 to 1861, sitting in the 81st, 82nd, 83rd and 84th New York State legislatures. He was a delegate to the 1860 Democratic National Convention. He was Commissioner of New York Harbor when the Civil War erupted. Spinola joined the Volunteer Army in a New York regiment and was commissioned as an officer. He was appointed Brigadier General of Volunteers on October 2, 1862. He commanded 2 relief efforts to lift the Confederate siege of Washington, North Carolina. In July-October 1862, he recruited and organized a brigade of 4 regiments, known as Spinola's Empire Brigade. Spinola assumed command of the New York Excelsior Brigade on July 11, 1863. Following the Battle of Gettysburg, as the Army of the Potomac strove to fill open command slots created by battle casualties, Spinola's brigade led the Union troops on July 23 at the Battle of Wapping Heights near Warrenton, Virginia, suffering 18 men killed, including 2 officers. Spinola was wounded in the fighting, along with dozens of his men. He was honorably discharged from the service in August 1865. Following the war, Spinola was a banker and insurance agent, and became an influential figure among the rapidly growing Italian immigrant community in the New York City area. He was again a member of the State Assembly in 1877, 1881 and 1883. He was a U.S. representative from New York's 10th District from 1887 to 1891. He died in office in Washington, D.C. on April 14, 1891. His funeral was held at the Immaculate Conception Church on April 16, 1891, and he was buried at Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York. His estate, valued at over $1 million in 1897, was left to his wife and a nephew, Ferdinand McGee. In 1897 his sister Annie Douglas contested his will. Family. Spinola had his country seat at Crane Neck, Long Island. It was menaced by a fire in 1887. Francis Barretto Spinola was the son of João Leandro Spinola, later anglicized as John Leander Spinola, a merchant from Madeira Island, and Elizabeth Felin, daughter of Captain John Felin, who served in the American Revolutionary War, and his wife Susanna Davis. João Leandro Spinola married Eliza Felin in June 18, 1808, at Trinity Church Parish, New York. Frank W. Baldwin, in his book Sons of Garibaldi in Blue and Gray, Italians in the American Civil War, refers to his father John as a prosperous farmer and oysterman who migrated to the United States from Madeira Island, Portugal, whose family had originally hailed from the city of Genoa. The Spinolas, of noble Genoese origin, moved into Madeira Island in the late 15th, early 16th 18th century as merchants. John Leander Spinola is recorded traveling between Funchal and New York on board of the brig Pomona in 1821. He is also recorded traveling to Havana and Rio Grande. He was buried in the Meadow Avenue of Greenwood Cemetery, Brooklyn, New York. His grandfather John Phelan was a lieutenant in Wigglesworth's 13th Massachusetts Regiment, and his granduncles Edward and Patrick were respectively captain and lieutenant at the same time. He was a member of the Order of the Cincinnati. His granduncle Philip Phelan joined the American forces during the Revolutionary War, where he served as lieutenant, and died at the Battle of Eutaw Springs in May 22, 1781. John Phelan's mother was Mary Heron Phelan from Waterford, Ireland. One of her descendants, Mrs. Regina M. Knott, was one of the earliest members of the Daughters of the American Revolution. He had an older brother, John Leander Spinola, who worked as a druggist, a younger brother, Douglas A. Spinola, an older sister, Angelina Spinola, seamstress, and two younger sisters, Louisa and Annalisa. Jen Spinola provided for his sister and Douglas until his death in 1891. She supported herself teaching music until her eyesight failed, and by 1903, at over 70 years of age, she was living on charity, on an allowance of $120 a year from the Society of the Cincinnati. This motivated a newspaper article, pleading for help and referring her family, the Spinolas, as New York aristocrats, a distinguished family. Jen Frances Spinola married Elizabeth Nancy Glazebrook, from Kings, Saratoga, New York, at May 7, 1855, in New York City. Eliza N. Spinola, as she was known, survived her husband for 5 years, dying in 1896.